This conference will now be recorded.
So basically, since it's a demo session, so uh, let me explain you what we are going to cover in this 10 to 12 hours session. After the demo, the post session will start. So basically, we will learn about mainly performance testing and performance engineering at some extent, and we will leverage the tool Gatling, which is more similar to Jmeter or LoadRunner in terms of its load volume and properties, but execution wise and structure wise, it's quite bit different. So we gathered today here, we connected to learn about Gatling. So today, my main objective is to make you familiar about the tool. We'll go mostly the theoretical part, and wherever we have to see the tool, we'll go through the tool. We'll see how tools records. But first, let me give you a walkthrough, like what will be the topics we'll be covering through this session.
One question actually I have. So the course timeline is 12 to 12 hours total.
Yeah, that's fine, Avitos. You are right. It's 10 to 12 hours, and maybe we can extend it to 15 hours, or maybe we can sync it to 10 hours. Depends on the pace we are going through and the audience how they are adapting the things.
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
because it's not more like the any recorded videos. We'll be doing the interacting sessions. So the more questions you will be asking, the more comfortable I will be. There is no timing constraints over here.
Okay, got it.
So nowadays, why Gatling became so popular? Okay, let us speak about that first. So it's a industry standard tool, mainly similar to LoadRunner and Jmeter and your load we have. Then what is the difference? Why we choose Gatling over any other tool that is available in market and has the super UI user interface that Gatling somewhere lacks? So basically, it provides us the better load generations. Okay, and the Gatling is something we need to understand the Scala, where we do the scripting over there, we do execution, we do error handling, we do parameterization, and we do correlation. Okay, there are two versions of Gatling basically. One is open source and one is Frontline. So when you talk about the differences, we'll talk about it now after some time. But let me tell you, like open source is itself enough to perform performance testing as a standalone also, and as per industry norms also. We can leverage that. Just we need to integrate it with the master slave architecture that we usually do in any other tool like Jmeter. So let me share my screen. It's visible, right? My screen is visible.
Yes, it's
Yeah. So the topics we'll be covering, we are not will not be jumping to the tool directly. Okay, keeping in the mind that the audience we have who are taking these sessions have the basic knowledge of performance or zero knowledge of performance, but somehow they belongs to the IT field. Okay, so we'll start from the performance overview. Then we will understand the test environment. Okay, what is the test environment we need to have to do the performance testing? What is the difference between the performance testing environment and the production environment, and how we take those decisions, like what will be the configuration of my environment should be to have a good performance testing result. Then we will talk about the NFR gathering, which is again the most crucial phase and software life cycle of testing. Okay, then we'll talk about the workload modeling. Then we will speak about the server architecture, Also, when I will show you the scripting, we will cover both the API and UI test approach. UI I will cover in detail. API I will give you overview, but we'll do one hands-on scripting with the API also. We'll do script recording, the modes that are available in the Gatling. We'll cover all the modes. We'll do parameterization. We'll do correlation. We'll do checkpoint. I will give you walkthrough of scenario design. We'll do the scenario design. We will do the simulation design also, and we'll cover the Scala custom coding also that will be required to achieve any particular kinds of scenario, like we do any custom coding in Jmeter through Java or bin cell sampler. Similarly, we'll do it that here in Scala. We'll do error validation, and we'll do the error handling. Then we'll talk about the report generation, the master slave architecture, which is of course needed for the performance testing in a distributed environment. We'll speak about the distributed testing methods we have. We will talk about the cookies, cache, headers configuration. How do we configure in Gatling? And we'll talk about handling those cache and cookies. How can we flush cookies? And also, I have added a couple of more topics here as per the feedback got from the last session, the last Gatling session that we had. We'd also covered the CI/CD pipeline with Jenkins. Okay, this will be going to be your course content. Anything else you want to add or you feel is missing in the contents, please let me know.
So it's like basics of performance testing, then script creation in Scala or Gatling, test execution and reporting. These mainly these four chapters we will concentrate on.
Mainly, if you ask me honestly, okay, based on the feedback from the previous session we had in last month, okay, we are covering from performance basics to the advanced level, okay. We are doing the advanced scripting also, so we are covering end to end, which is required to be a performance engineer. We are just not concentrating about the tool and concepts. We are that's why we have implemented Jenkins and CI/CD pipeline also, which is nowadays really required,
Yes,
right?
yes, that is required. Uh,
Yeah,
and
that's
for
why.
in an analysis part means it's like how to analyze the reports and give some suggestions to the team for fixing
Yeah,
those
so
bugs.
since we are doing the testing from the client machine, we will talk about whatever report being generated from the Gatling. Okay, we'll do the analysis on that level. If you are talking about the application side monitoring and application side analysis, that comes a different part, right?
Okay,
There comes the AppDynamics, Dynatrace, and other profiling tools in picture.
okay, correct. Because actually, I thought if this tool Gatling has some capabilities of doing that.
Oh, basically, it has capability if you are good insights and if you are a good performance engineer. By looking into the client side matrices only, will be able to judge what might be the issue is. But to drill down it further into the application level and prove to the development team that to pinpoint the issue, we of course need some validations, and we need some proof, right? That profiling tool only can give us.
Okay,
Makes sense, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, I don't have any knowledge on programming language, so if I am
Uh,
a
that's
good
not
candidate,
that's not really needed. Okay. So how Scala works, how Scala variable works, how do we define and pass the variables, that we'll be talking about in this complete session. We'll start from the scratch.
okay,
Okay, and we are doing the live scripting. Is nothing like that. We are just recording and pasting the scripts over there and giving walkthrough. We'll do the live scripting. We'll be writing the scripts line by line, and of course we will not go for the normal scripting, that ordinary scripting that Gatling suggests in their tutorials over their websites. We'll go for the modular approach scripting that industry is following. Okay, so let us talk about why Gatling becomes so popular. Okay, so basically, Gatling provides the better load generation than any other tool. The reason being is that it has less resource consumption. Okay, and it has better integration with CI/CD environment. It is easily integrated with the CI/CD environment. So basically, Gatling is developed in Scala, that is a language similar to Java, and it is being built on Netty and Akka. So since it's developed in Scala, any developer, QA, automation guy also can develop the scripts and execute it. Of course, performance team will be able to understand it better, but the other teams can also do it very easily for their unit testing, or if they have to do inbuilt performance testing. So what is Netty and Akka? So basically, Akka is a framework, okay, which is the message driven architecture actually. So in in LoadRunner and Jmeter, the users being ejaculated with threads and processes. We have the message driven architecture over here. Okay, so Gatling users are using messages rather than threads to generate the load. Okay, and why do we need Akka? Akka is a framework, okay, which override the JVM limitation, Java Virtual Machine limitation of handling the threads. So why Akka is so special? Because it has a feature, a special feature to increase the number of threads as messages in terms of messages, and which runs asynchronously. Okay, this is the an useful utility we have. Excuse me. So basically, when it is running asynchronously, it is not blocking other messages to be in queue. Okay, and Netty has a feature of non-blocking HTTP. That is a IO feature, which is related to the number of users and its resource consumption. Uh, Although Scala is similar to Java, but it has its own feature also. But it can also use the libraries being used in Java. So basically, two modes of Gatling we have, two versions, which is open source and Frontline. So being a developer oriented tool, Gatling can be also ingested with the open source platform like Jenkins. One major drawback of Gatling is that it mainly support HTTP protocol, and its advantage is it can be easily integrated with any CI/CD and any open source tool monitoring tools like Grafana. Okay, so am I clear till now? Any
Yes,
questions,
sir.
please? Okay, so how do we compile the code? Okay, when we develop the scripts over the Scala, how do we run it? Okay, because we need JVM in Java, then how Scala runs? Okay, of course we need JVM here also as an environment variable. But what is Scala do? Okay, Scala source code is compiled to Java bytecode, and then it is being run on Java. So here is are the some comparison of Gatling open source, that is called as Gatling load testing and Gatling frontline. So Gatling load testing and frontline both provides the unlimited testing, of course. Okay, unlimited throughput can be generated, depends on the number of cores you have, basically the resource availability you have. So we have the feature of cloud based load generators or load injectors in Gatling frontline, which we lack in Gatling open source. We have to do that manually through the master slave architecture. The distributed mode of testing, is lacking in open source and is inbuilt in Frontline. So when we come for reporting, so Gatling load testing provides colorful reports that Gatling Frontline also provides. Response time, request, errors, these details will be provided, will be same in both the reports. But TCP connections and DNS resolution and load generators monitoring is not available in open source. Live reports is not available, but hence running the test, you can see the logs over your terminal. Okay, the test history is not available in the Gatling open source, and the trend report is not available. But in a nutshell, if I conclude, Gatling open source is enough capable of handling the performance testing requirements alone. We really don't need the Gatling Frontline going forward. But if you have a good budget, if your industry has a good budget and they really want to minimize the manual efforts and go for the automation kind of things, then they will obviously choose Gatling Frontline.
Is
Okay,
it
so what
costly one?
Gatling Frontline will be costly. It will be similar like LoadRunner or less than that.
Okay.
But if you can see, do you feel any major differences in Gatling open source and Gatling Frontline?
Actually, the text is not that much clear. Can you zoom this?
Yeah, that's what you need to tell me. Sure. Good now?
Yes, it's better now. So it has like the cloud based is and then distributed mode are allowed. TCP, DNS, injector monitoring, live history of it. So without frontline as well, we can achieve the distributed test mode.
Yeah, that's right. We spoke about the master slave architecture, right? We can pipeline it through CI/CD over the Jenkins, and we can achieve that.
Okay.
But using Jmeter also we can do all this, right? Then why we need to go with Gatling only?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So a couple of minutes before you speak about the handling of the load, right? How Gatling uses the load and generates the throughput and users is more better than any other tool, since the Jmeter is thread and process driven, Gatling is message driven. Okay, is run is users asynchronously. That is, no users, no request is getting blocked or waiting in the queue, right? So since the resource consumption is low, then we are able to handle the more load in a given number of resources as compared to any other tool. So it saves your cost, right?
Okay, okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Yep. So just wanted to check on the demand for Gatling tool in the market.
So right now it's a great in demand. I can say there are limited resources of Gatling, and the industry requirement is too much, and Gatling resources are rarely being found over the industry in the market. So they are being well paid, and they have good skills, because it's something not like any UI driven tool like Jmeter and LoadRunner. We need to give some efforts, and we'll have the better understanding of code over here.
So
So when you
after
start,
completion of this course, if we will be eligible for such market jobs.
yeah, you will be eligible for that, of course, because you need because you know the Gatling end to end till the time. Okay, and this tutorial will cover the live training. So the thing is that we'll do go for the modular approach of the testing, and we will cover each and every step that is required for having a good job. And basically the major difference is that we are not just completing the course, we are going to the industry standard. So you will be having the hands on during the training only.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we move next?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the advantages of Gatling? So basically, one of you have just asked me this question, but there, apart from that, there are other advantages also. So it's a operating system and browser independent. It can run in any of the OS, and it doesn't need any particular browser which has its dependency. Gatling enables to write performance tests as source codes that we spoke already, right? So performance tests can be wrote in Scala, okay, through the Gatling plugin, and since it's can be written in the source code, and it does not have any dependency on the tool. So even developers, QA, and other team also any IT guy can learn and execute Gatling. Gatling handles the load better than any other tool. It will help you to save the resources, basically the CPU and memory. Then again, it's a kind of your cost and resource optimization. So it is already proven that Gatling is very much compatible with any of the CI/CD platform. It can be easily integrated. It has ready to present HTML reports. We don't have to go and create the report manually. Okay, it has a very good HTML reports being created after the test is completed. So what are the different types of protocols that is being supported by the Gatling? So basically support HTTP protocol mainly, but other protocols are also supported, that is JMS, WebSocket, and server sent events, but it works best with HTTP protocol. Any questions, or should we move next?
WebSocket means web services, or exactly what?
No, WebSocket is the different kind of request where we have to test the socket connections over any web application.
It will not support for web services scenarios.
Web services are kind of APIs we are terminating, like REST and SOAP, right? We'll be
Yeah,
supporting that.
correct.
We'll be
It will
supporting that.
support. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, any request will have the couple of methods like get, post, put, delete, modify. Okay, they requires to give the URL, body, headers, protocols, caches, and cookies. We all we can pass all this in a Gatling request. That's not the limitation. So the supported protocols which have this kind of architecture will be able to test it. Okay, so we spoke about advantages basically till now. Let us speak about the limitation. So using the free version, the distributed testing is not inbuilt like any other open source tool. So we have to do some manual efforts over there. Poor level of information during execution time. During the execution time, you can see only the number of users, the transaction passed, fails, the error log, all these things you can see, but you cannot see the response time over the terminal during the execution that we see in any other tool. That's the limitation of Gatling open source. The front end testing, that UI testing, is not being supported to check the browser rendering time and buffer time. All those things are not supported in Gatling. So only few protocols are supported in Gatling, and primarily it is supporting HTTP protocol.
That means distributed testing means so you cannot play on the master concept here. Huh? What exactly?
Yeah, that's not inbuilt,
That's
but
not
master,
version.
that's
Yeah.
not inbuilt. That cloud-based injectors are not available in open source, but still master slave architecture can be we can achieve at that. True. right?
We
You
can
can
achieve
yeah,
custom.
you can achieve it through the Jenkins, right? In CI/CD environment, you can have
Right, right.
multiple slaves and one master.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, to give you an overview, if you are aware of are you aware of the Jenkins concept?
Yeah, yeah, little bit, not
Yeah,
like
little
much.
bit. Then let me pinpoint you. Like, if you can install the slaves as a service over a master, you can able to run it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one. So since Gatling supports the Scala language, we have to discuss about the Scala also, how Scala, what is Scala and how Scala works. So it is similar to Java to some extent. It is also object oriented and functional language. It has the Java compatibility too. It has statically typed. So what is statically typed? It is something like when you type the code over the IDE, okay, then you will get the suggestions over there for the data type for any errors. So it will automatically give you the suggestion that is statically typed. So it's a less verbose. What is do you mean by less verbose? Less verbose is something like that. The code of, let us suppose I'm writing a code of getting a string reverse over the Java, and the code is of the 20 lines. The same code can be accommodated within 4 lines in Scala. Basically, it reduces the line of the code. It is designed in some way. It doesn't need the lengthy code to be written. The as compared to other languages, the line of code is reduced to achieve any automation over here. When we talk about the Java compatibility, yes, it has the Java compatibility, but Scala has its own features add-ons also, which has its own libraries, own utilities, and own functions. So these all are the data types in Scala, available in Scala. So integer with 32-bit signed value, range is this much, byte 8-bit signed value, short is 16, long is 64, float is 32, double is 64, char is 16. Being a performance engineer, we really don't have to worry about that this much. But if you're writing some lengthy codes, or your codes are crashing, okay, or you're doing some Scala development, then it matters. Okay, so I am pausing over here the theoretical session. Okay, let us go to some practical session. I will show you the tool. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, just give me a minute, please. Sorry, sharing my screen again. So you have to download Gatling Highchart first, which Suppose the Gatling features. I'll go to the Gatling Academy. So you can see here we have two options basically. One is open source, one is Gatling Enterprise. Okay, Gatling Enterprise something like Frontline we say. So we have to download the open source only. I have already downloaded it. So once you download that, you will be having Gatling charts, Highcharts bundle in your system. You have to unzip that. This will be the architecture of this tool. You will have bin. In bin you have the Gatling to start the test simulations. Basically the uh, load profile is called as simulation Gatling, and recorder for recording the scripts. I have run the recorder. So in Gatling, basically two modes of recording is available. One is HTTP proxy that we can monitor it, record it through the browser, going through each step, and one is HAR converter. So what is HAR converter? HAR converter is just like we are saving our request, browsing it through the developer tool in any of the browser, saving it through the .har file in my system, and we can just upload and create our scripts, right? So let us talk about each and every options that is available over here. So this is the HAR file location. You have to browse through your system and you have to choose your HAR file. Then format, the file format will be .scala always, because we are creating the .scala file. Here you will have the package name. You have to give your unique package name. You will give your class name. So class name will be your through which our simulation name will be there, where simulation name should be similar to the class name, and package in which package this simulation will reside. We have couple of checkbox here which provide us the flexibility to record the scripts, to generate the scripts the way we want. Do we need to follow redirects or not? We can always check in or check out. In for HTML resources, automatic reference that we have in our application, should we go for that or not? Save and check response bodies. Use HTTP method and URI request postfix, that is something naming as transactions. Use class name as request prefix, that is something as naming that transactions over the class name. Remove the cache headers, that is the cache headers that are already presented in your browser. Do you need to remove them or not? When you come down, okay, there is something like allow list and deny list. Okay, so these are basically the filters. So this is for whitelisting and this is for blacklisting. There is inbuilt no static resources. If you click on that, all the static resources that are presented in the application will be delimited and a script will be created without the static request. Got it? Clear? Any questions on this? Then we'll move to next step. Anybody, any questions, please?
So what will be the use
Sorry. Your voice is breaking too much.
for to redirect?
Follow redux. Okay, so sometimes what happens in your application, you will get the 302 or something, the redirection will be happening. So do we need to go to the redirected website or not? Let us suppose you have one website called Flipkart, okay, and internally they have some ads, and ad is going to amazon.com. So when we are recording that script, do we need to follow those redirects or not? Correct? Because when you are, let us suppose you have posted an ad in your application, I am recording that step. The step is to click on ad. Click on ad is the functionality of my website. The ad is opening in a new application is the functionality of a different website. Correct? So we need to be clear with our requirement and the scope of our testing, and that's why we have followed redux over here.
Mhm.
You are saying something, your voice is breaking actually. Okay, you can paste your
Okay.
query. I'm not
The
able
other
to.
three
Yeah,
of
no, it's now I can hear you. Go
let
ahead.
me type it.
Yeah, you can type it. I'll take it later in this session. We have 10-15 minutes for query. So everybody in the attending this session, are you aware about generating the har file, or should I show you?
Actually,
No, actually,
I generated it, but I don't know what is the significance of that file.
Okay. So basically, performing the har file developer tool, we need to open the developer tool. We have a shortcut of Control Shift I, but you can always go to the developer tools, and we have some extensions for that. In this browser where it is, I'm not. More tools should be there. Yeah, developer tool. Open the developer tool. It will open a network like this. So this is for recording, and this is for clear. You can stop recording your request over here, and you can clear your existing request with this. You should always click preserve log. First you have to be present in network tab, then preserve the log, so that if this window is full, your logs will not be vanished, right? Because you need to record all the logs. Now I'll go through the site. Let us suppose I am going to the flipkart.com. Now for each request we are getting the request over here, right? I'll go and I'll scroll something. So if I'll click on this, you can see that I'll go to fetch basically. So this, we have the header information over here. This method is post, all the headers are coming over here. The payload is the request. You can see it over the source. What is the payload? What is request body? Preview will just give you the high level information of the request. Response, what is the response body you got? This is the overview of the developer tool. Let me go for home and furniture. I'll go for clocks. I will click on one clock. I will go add to cart. Yeah, so I need to like generate my har file. So I will click on export har. I'll go to downloads, flipkart.com har. I'll save it in documents. Now I'll go to my recorder. I'll browse. This is the file. Yeah, you can see successfully converted a har file to Gatling simulation. I have started it and it is converted. Now check.
So the har file has the steps which you shown, like opening Flipkart, then navigating to one product, then adding it to the cart. All these steps are included in the har file.
We'll look into it right now. Okay. So basically, what was our class name? Recorded simulation, right? This is my class name. This is the base URL, what we have waited. So in for HTML resources, whitelist and blacklist, we had empty. That's why it is empty. If we have put it some entries, it would have been present over here. Now it will give you the headers information of each request, what headers we are passing. The same we saw there in the developer tool. But what is the significations of simulation is that it had converted my har file to the script that will be working, we can use to load test. But going forward in the session, this is just a demo of the Gatling. That's why going forward in the session, we will look for the modular approach of the script, not this one. I'll show you just now in a minute like how it looks like. So this is the different URIs that were present in the website, what we have gone through. Now our request will start here. HTTP request name 0. This is the request, this is the header, this is a checkpoint, and these are the resources being passed. So this is the overview, like how do we record the script, generate a script from the har file in Gatling. Any questions, please?
So for actual test execution, we use such kind of script.
No. For that, for the industry standard, we go for modular scripting that will follow in this session. I'll show you right after this session. First, let me take up the questions that you guys have, then I'll show you. Meanwhile, in parallel, I'll show you.
Okay, so if this har file approach is not used when that is actual script creation we do.
No, it is being used. Okay, let me explain you this way. Just a minute. Yeah. So basically, the har file has generated the simulation class. Okay, that is a script of the Gatling where we have basically three concepts: action, scenario, simulation. Okay, so action will be storing in modular scripting. I'm talking about action will be storing your request. All your request is types and config, and all your configurations will be stored over there. Scenario will contains the loop repeat, think time, another configuration how your test will run. Loops, because you know about loops and sessions, right? In performance we have to give. And simulation will contain the user load, basically ramp up pattern, user volume, and type of testing like load tests, spike tests, how long the test will run. These things simulation will contain. But here what inbuilt script is created in Gatling instrumentation file, it is being everything is stored in the same place. If you go at the last line, yeah, so this is the simulation. It is like telling how the users will ramp up, but in going forward in the modular approach, we have to do the customized testing. For that, we go for any IDE. Okay, IDE in the means of you can use Eclipse or IntelliJ or Visual Code. I have not used the Visual Code, I'm not aware about that right now for Scala at least, but for IntelliJ and Eclipse I'm aware. So we'll do this in IntelliJ basically. So your script will look something like that. Okay, and you will have the Gatling folder over there which have all the requests integrated with that. You have the library information. When I'll go for the test and the Scala, you will have the engine to start the test, recorder to start this recording through the ID. No, understood, right? Any further question on this, please?
So the file which is open on your machine, like that file you opened with Notepad++.
Uh-huh.
So that is a test script.
Yeah, that is the automated test script, something you have recorded and it has converted it to the script. Okay, but you don't have there the correlation, the parameterization. We have to do all this, right? When we are talking about the performance testing, we are not just doing the sanity, right?
Correct.
Correct. So we need to customize our application. It's just a recording and you can just run it, but basically we do it to check the request we have captured. We'll take its reference and we'll inject our these resources one by one in our modular scripting basically, and we will use the Eclipse ID for that. Going forward in the session, I'll teach you how to do this setup intelligent in your system, and how to write the Gatling scripts in Scala, how to write the scenario, how to write the load volume, and how to achieve different kind of scenario and testing in performance, and how to run the test through ID. Makes sense, right?
So like
Any
Jmeter, we don't
Yeah.
have samplers.
No,
Kind.
that's why I told you, like, it's less UI interactive.
Okay.
Yeah, so please go ahead and ask me if I have any questions for today's session. Then we'll move on the further topics of the Gatling and Scala in the next session, that is probably tomorrow same time. So whatever we have discussed today, any questions or going forward what we'll be doing in the next session, if you have any doubts, please let me know. I'll be taking this up right now.
So this script creation is difficult with this Gatling and Scala than Jmeter comparatively.
I don't feel it like difficult basically. Okay, because I have more approach of writing the copy pasting the request. Okay, I have more visibility to my code, right? In one page I have all my code, rather than going and checking the request and response and parameters in different tabs in the Jmeter or LoadRunner tool. Correct. If you want to see the headers of one request, you have to go move to tab. You have to check the parameterization tab, the CSV dataset config. You have to check the header configuration, cookie manager. But here we have all in the same request that is bundled together to run.
And suppose we want to record one end-to-end script, like when customer is coming, he's signing in, then selecting the product,
Okay,
and the
okay.
perspectives, all
First,
those things.
you asked this question. Let me tell you proactively. We'll be doing the same end-to-end flow in this complete session from home to place order.
Okay. With both the methods like HAR and another method.
No, sorry. Can you please come again?
With both the recording methods, correct? One is HAR and another is
Yeah. So going forward, it's just a demo session. It's just to make you familiar what we'll be covering in the session. Okay, we'll be going through each and every topic in detail going forward, and we'll be
okay.
doing that multiple times.
Okay, got it. It will be helpful.
Any other
Uh,
questions?
yeah. I want to know that
Yeah.
how many days this whole course or duration of the course will be?
Just a minute.